Hey everyone, today we're deep diving into the optimal CS2 settings for 2026. I'm not a professional player by any means, but I've spent a lot of hours of testing my setup to ensure it feels smooth and delivers maximum performance.
Alright, here's the plan for the video. First up, we will cover my in-game settings for the maximum FPS. Then we will be moving on to my Nvidia control panel settings for that extra performance boost. Then I will show you a few Windows tweaks to get a bit more out of Windows itself. After that, we will be moving on to my mouse and keyboard binds. And lastly, I will be showing my Crosshair and Viewmodel, which you can copy in the description.
Alright, let's get into the in-game settings. First off, don't just blindly copy me, use my settings as a starting point and tweak them until they actually feel right to you. For the display mode, I highly recommend full screen, since it has the lowest latency and best input delay. Though you could also use full screen windowed, whatever you like. Alright, moving on to the aspect ratio, I personally use 4:3 stretched, but if you are new to the game, and are used to native resolutions from other shooters, you should just stick to that, or simply try out 16:10. It's important to note though that 4:3 gives you a significant disadvantage over the native players in terms of field of view. Despite this disadvantage, the majority of the CS2 player base still uses a resolution by 1280x960 and an aspect ratio of 4:3 stretched. In case of some of you guys not being aware how big of a difference this setting makes, I prepared two clips, one being 4:3 and one being 16:9. Just look at the guy on short. Moving on to resolutions, my go-to is 1920x4040 because I have a 1440p monitor. Okay, now your most important setting, your refresh rate. You should definitely check that it's maxed out to get the maximum advantage. Now for brightness settings. I personally like to use 93%, but I've seen others use numbers like 150% or 120. That's just personal preference, so in case you're not trying to look like this guy, I recommend you setting your brightness to 93 or 100%. And in case you're wondering what kind of video settings the CS2 pros use, I prepared some screenshots of the best current CS2 players. First up is Dong. He likes to play 4:3 stretched and a resolution of 1280x9060. Another popular player is Nico. He uses a resolution by 1280x768 and an aspect ratio of 16:10. Next up in the list is the GOAT of CSGO, Simple. His aspect ratio is 4:3 and his resolution is 1280x960. And lastly, the GOAT of CS2, Zaibu. He uses 4:3 and the same resolution as Simple. Alright, moving on to advanced video. Here I have boost player contrast disabled, since I'm not a big fan of the blackish outline that the player models get. Next setting is VSync. I have it turned off since it leads to visual tearing in my case. In terms of Nvidia G-Sync, I have it enabled, but I haven't really noticed any difference yet. Next up is Nvidia Reflex Low Latency. I have it enabled plus boost, just feels the best to me. Now for the maximum FPS in game, I have it set to 0, so uncapped, but you could definitely set it to your refresh rate of your monitor. And maximum FPS in menus, I have set to 200. Moving on to the presets. I'm a big fan of sharp edges in the game, so my multi-sampling anti-aliasing mode is set to 2x MSAA. If you prefer a more smoother look of the game, you can set your value to ×4 or ×8. In order to get a big performance boost, I set my global shadow quality to low. But don't worry, you won't experience any disadvantages from the shadows, since dynamic shadows will be set to all. Another setting that has a big impact on your performance is model and texture detail. I have set it to low, but keep in mind that will make your game look worse. I like to set the texture filtering mode to anisotropic ×16. To get a bit more out of the visuals. Shader detail and particle detail should both be set to low, and ambient occlusion should also be disabled. Now for these last two settings, high dynamic range should be set to quality, and fidelity FX super resolution should be set to disabled. Moving on to the audio part. For master volume, I like to have it set at 65. Most of the other settings in this tab are not that big of a deal, except the 10-second warning volume, which is set to 30. This specific setting can be quite important when you don't know when the bomb's about to go off, because at the 10-second mark, this will play your music kit. Most of the game tab settings are not that important either, but here you can see my HUD settings. These following settings are just all personal preference. In case you care about my settings, just pause the video. Here on screen you can see my current radar settings. Two more important settings are the grenade lineup reticle. I have all of these settings turned off, and damage prediction also turned off. Now that we are done with the CS2 settings, we can finally move on to the Nvidia control panel settings.
So in order to open your Nvidia control panel, you right click your desktop, click advanced options and then click Nvidia control panel. Then in the first tab, make sure to use the advanced 3D image settings and then click on take me there. Once the tab is loaded, make sure to go to program settings and select CS2 to only apply the settings for CS2. Alright, now let's get into the settings. Image scaling should be turned off. Next up is anisotropic filtering, which will be set to application control.
Anti-aliasing FXAA should be set to off. Now the gamma correction should be set to on to give your game a better look.
The anti-aliasing mode should be set to application controlled as well. The transparency of the anti-aliasing should be turned off. Background application max frame rate also off. CUDA GPUs should be set to use these GPUs and then select your CPU, in my case the 5060 Ti. Now CUDA Sysmon fallback policy should be set to driver default. In order to achieve an even lower latency mode should be turned on. Max frame rate should also be turned off, or in other words, uncapped. Multi-frame sampled AA should also be turned off. While your monitor technology should be set to fixed refresh. OpenGL compatibility should be set to auto. Same goes for the OpenGL rendering GPU, which will be set to auto select. This might be the most important setting. The power management mode should be set to prefer maximum performance. And in case if you ever seen a screen of a pro player and the game looks so colorful, here's the correct settings to achieve that. In order to achieve a more colorful looking CS2, we gotta head to the adjust desktop color settings and crank up the digital vibrance. Personally, I like to set it at 60%, but I've seen a lot of people just cranking it up to 100%. Lastly, this is mainly for the people that play 4x3 stretched. Go onto the adjust desktop size and position setting, click full screen, perform scaling on GPU, and tick the box that says override the scaling mode set by games and programs. Now that we are done with the Nvidia control panel, we can have a look at the Windows tweaks. Alright, first up we gotta open the run dialog box. To do this, you simply press Windows key plus R. In here we're gonna type %temp%. This will open up all the temporary files on your system. You simply press Ctrl A and select all and delete. I recommend doing this every month because these files can sometimes slow down your PC. After your PC is done deleting all the files, we're gonna hop into the Windows Power Plan options. In here, make sure that the Ultimate Performance Power Plan is selected. If that's the case, click on Change Plan Settings. Then, inside the plan settings, click on Advanced Plan Settings and make sure the settings on screen apply to your plan. Then simply click on Apply or on OK. That's already it for the Windows settings. It's not much, but I feel like deleting the temporary files and changing the power plan definitely has some impact on the game. Now let's move on to my keybinds. I've changed my in-game talking button to mouse 4 on my mouse and the pinging in-game button to my mouse 5 key. These two are the buttons that are on the side of most of the mouse. I also changed the keybinds for my grenades. This can be quite useful when you have to throw a nade quickly and can't just cycle through your nades in time. The binds are HE4, Flashbang on C, Smoke on X. And for Molotov or Incendiary Grenade, I use the keybind V. That's already it for my keybinds. Now let's move on to the last part, my Viewmodel and my Crosshair. I'm not saying that my Viewmodel or my Crosshair are the best in any means, but in case you like them, you can just simply copy them. Here on screen you can see my Viewmodel. The exact values will be in the video description. Here on screen you can see my Crosshair. In case you want to copy it, is also in the video description. That's already it for the video. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe for more content. See ya!